This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of this podcast can save 20% off the first year of an annual subscription by visiting theathletic.com/DSP. Definitely check out The Athletic. Great in-depth features, great Detroit sports website. You're really missing out if you're not subscribed to The Athletic. Why not subscribe? Go visit theathletic.com/DSP, subscribe, and save 20% off.
Oh my God!
Welcome to episode 30 of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. Of course, we've got the news and notes, and of course, we're going to be reviewing Raw and SmackDown. But I want to get this podcast started off with the Doc's review of ROH's War of the Worlds. This past Saturday, Doc got to take in his first non-WWE wrestling event. He got to go to the Royal Oak Theater and see ROH perform their War of the Worlds. It's a great show. It's phenomenal. If you love wrestling, that's why you're listening to this podcast, obviously. ROH does really, really good things. A lot of the talent that you see in WWE right now really cut their teeth in Ring of Honor. I gotta break this down for you, man. I gotta ask you, what'd you think?
Well, first and foremost, props to my boy Kenny. He works for Sinclair out there in Flint, news director, great talented individual, really in the world of entertainment. He's in the know. And so Sinclair, if you don't know, owns Ring of Honor. So he got a hookup. It was great. And so I didn't know exactly the extent of what was going to happen. So at first he tells me, well, we don't have tickets. They might just have to squeeze us in. No problem. We have to go ask for X. So we get in there early. People are in line, kind of waiting outside. So we just kind of walk in. It was kind of weird in that we just kind of strolled in like we owned the place, and nobody checked security, nothing. We just walked right to the ring, right inside the arena. We walked in, we asked for such and such, and he's like, okay, yeah, we got you guys in the Sinclair box. Just hang out. And he definitely made note of like, hey, because all the wrestlers were in the ring and they were doing their stuff and prepping. And he's like, please, no social media. Don't, expose anything that's going on now, because guys were actually calling their stuff and going through. So that was really kind of cool to see. Then all of a sudden, we look over and Kenny's like, hey, that's Marty Squirrel. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So he's sitting there looking, and it was really awesome. Like, hey, Marty, kind of real quickly just asserted myself and said, hey, I'm John. I do a podcast, and I'm a big fan and things like that. And he's like, great. I'm like, can I take a selfie? Boom, took a picture with Marty Squirrel. Real awesome cat. Then all of a sudden, Kenny's like, well, I know they're doing a meet and greet. Let me just kind of get back to my guy and see. And Kenny was real nice. And he was just like, well, they kind of told me in the sales department that we could kind of maybe meet some of the wrestlers and maybe partake in some of the meet and greet. And the guy was like, yeah, no problem. Not at the beginning. Just kind of hang back, lay low, don't cause any trouble. And when there's a little bit of a lull and people taking photos, the guy was just right up with Kenny and got us in, and we met basically everybody.
Yeah.
We took at least 8 photos, and so at $30 a pop, it was basically a $250 value, and so we got a little chance to see the business side of it, where these guys take the ticket to count how many people drop $30 to take their picture, and it was kind of cool to see, fans. What was really awesome about it was everybody there in a venue that intimate, basically 2,000 people, is everybody was a mark. Everybody knew what was going on. They were chanting. They were really into the event. The way I was looking at it and processing it was just in terms of my experience. I was kind of recapping my visits to WWE and now this, and it kind of goes to me now going forward. It kind of hits home that pay-per-views and non-televised events are a lot better in that it's just match after match, excitement after excitement, nonstop action. And so going to Hell in a Cell for the WWE, then going to a couple Raws, and then going and attending Ring of Honor, I know that going forward, I probably am more inclined personally to go to non-televised events, because there's too many lulls, too many pre-produced packages that kills time, whereas this was just match after match after match. It was intimate. It was great. Our vantage point from the box was real close. We could see everything. And it was nice to just be part of something where you felt like, okay, I'm a wrestling fan. Everybody here is a wrestling fan, and everyone was chanting. It was nonstop action. It was really cool. And everybody that was on the card, every single person worked. The work rate was, what struck with me was their work rate.
Yep.
They took bumps. nonstop action. They told stories. They were really engaged in the crowd, and they wanted to put on a show. And that's what it was. And I was just really impressed by the scope of the entire thing. Ring of Honor's professional. They have, a setup. They were able to handle their business and things like that. And I was not aware that they actually stream their own events. They have their own streaming service. And that was kind of revealed to me. I enjoy, you look at it and you go, what was your favorite match? I kind of liked all of them. I like Cody Rhodes. I like Marty Scurll and the way he presents it. I said to myself, wow, there are about half a dozen dudes right now. You could pluck them out. The Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Marty Scurll, Adam Page was off the charts. I'm like, dude, these are
he's come a long way too.
These are personalities. And then the other part, my favorite part was I liked the addition of New Japan. I liked the way these guys got down. These New Japan wrestlers.
You got to see Naito, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw Naito. I seen a bunch of dudes that were just into it, and Jushin Thunder Liger, just a bunch of old cats as well. And the Japanese wrestlers put on a good show, and they have a following. And I thoroughly enjoyed the addition of New Japan as part of it. I liked the entire card. It was a fun experience. A+ atmosphere all the way around. I'd love to do it again, and as long as Kenny's part of Sinclair, he has the ability to go to any Ring of Honor event in the state of Michigan, and it was really awesome to see the engagement and how much the fans were into it all, and it was fun. It was a fun night.
So you mentioned you got to do a meet and greet, and you took a ton of photos. You posted a lot of those on the Twitter.
Yep.
You can follow those and go check those out at Detroit Podcast.
Yep.
Who was your favorite guy that you got to meet and kind of got to shake hands and kind of talk to a little bit?
To be honest, I was more expressive with the Young Bucks.
Okay.
Cody Rhodes was real professional, and Kenny was just like, I love your dad, and things like that. And he was like, yeah, me too. He was my favorite wrestler. And Kenny took the lead there, and he was just like, you did a stand-up, and so Kenny took the lead. And for the most part, I just greeted them. The Young Bucks, I was like, wow, from what I've read, you guys are the total package. One of the best tag teams in the world. Keep it up. Have great performances tonight and in the future. And they were like really cool. And so I had more interaction with the Young Bucks, and they just got it. Sometimes you just
they've got a little bit of charisma to them.
And what I liked was
it's palpable and tangible.
None of the dudes that were there in the meet and greet were like bodybuilders. Like if I was around a Batista or like a big 6'5", 240-pound dude, like there is an Armenian dude that's with Christopher Daniels that is kind of ripped like that. But all the dudes in the meet and greet were just regular size, like 5'9", about 200 pounds. The Young Bucks are not like imposing figures. They were basically my height, just a little bit taller, skinnier dudes, and they just look like cats that you could just go up to and talk to. And Flip was really cool. Emma, Tennille Dennywood was really awesome. Jushin Thunder Liger with a mask was cool because he's 53 years old, and we just kind of did the bow. Christopher Daniels was really cool, and that he's from Michigan. And we were like, oh, great career. We hope you have a great performance tonight. And basically, it was just short and sweet. We didn't want to we really didn't know what to say. Like, hey, we didn't want to mark out and just be like, hey, great performances. I remember the matches back in da-da-da.
You totally marked out.
No, yeah, and the inside, it was like, this is really cool. And the part of it that obviously was awesome was like, wow, I don't got to pay nothing. That's the best part. It's just roll up there, take the picture, got a autograph of Cody Rhodes personalized to me, and the Young Bucks, I just got an autograph photo. So the entire event was organized pretty well. I liked the way they rolled everything out, started on time, and they gave you 3 hours and 10 minutes of action. And spoiler alert, it was funny, but I don't know if I would go that route. End of the show, the Young Bucks and all the members of the Bullet Club call out this couple to the ring, and we're all like, oh God, here it is. And they're going, do you guys want to see a filming of our YouTube show, this really popular Be Elite YouTube thing that they do? And the guys
Have
in
you ever
there,
checked any of that out?
No,
It's
now
awesome.
I know. Yeah,
awesome.
It seems like it. So they're filming. All of a sudden, dude gets on his knee and proposes in the ring. So it was kind of nice to.
Did they end up super kicking him?
No,
super kick party?
No, it was nice for the Bullet Club to break kayfabe. And the other part that I really liked is I like the faction part of it. Is like the way they say they represent the Bullet Club, where it's like it's a faction, but it's not like they all have to show up to the ring and manage each other. It's like these guys represent the Bullet Club, and then the Japanese guys, these guys represent Los Ingenieros, and it was really cool.
Los Ingenieros.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's what Naito leads.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm trying to pick up all these factions.
So just so you know.
I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it.
So just so you know, that's what New Japan does. So New Japan is basically broken up into 6 different factions, and you fall underneath one of those factions.
Yeah, representing Bullet Club, representing Los da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I like that. And I'm like, why doesn't WWE steal some of this stuff? They should definitely take advantage of the wild-ass popularity. And then I'll tease it, they are also able to market themselves. And you'll talk about something going on later on this year with a bunch of these independent cats. But the part that I was left with was Ring of Honor is probably definitely the true number 2 company, and they are able to market. They have fan engagement. They can put on a show decent. Obviously, a little bit light on production side, but in the end, when you're in the ring, all you got to do is tell a story, get in there and wrestle. And that's what I liked. Nonstop action, 3 hours, great matchups, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It did not drag at all. And the only thing I would say is Royal Oak Music Theater, you got to sell some food, man. I know it's tough, but drinks are good, but no food. And I guess they said it's for legal reasons, but man, we're hungry.
You wanted a hot dog or something?
Yeah, at least in the box, maybe.
So what was your favorite match of the night? You said it was 3 hours, 10 minutes of nonstop action. What was your favorite match?
You know what? I'm not going to lie. Main event. I like the Briscoes.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I'm like, dude,
those
these
are
guys
some
are
crazy
awesome.
dudes,
These guys are awesome. The Briscoes took on Naito and his partner, I think Takahashi or something like that.
Okay.
And great match. And the Briscoes ended up defending their title, and they won. And they were just like, they had it. I'm like, dude, I was like, well, those guys definitely could be in WWE. The Briscoes, I thought, well, are they like kind of like the WWE Briscoes? They're like, no, they're just, those are character names. And
You
cool.
want a little bit of a side story on those guys?
Yeah.
So legit, they're like from Delaware.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
They're Delaware chicken farmers.
Yeah.
And
see?
like all they want to do is they want to wrestle some of the time, and they want to go and they just want to farm chickens. And they're like super, like what they do in the ring, it's super legit. And like they're awesome guys, right? But they're just like weird country dudes who don't want a whole bunch of limelight. They just want to go and wrestle because they love wrestling, and they just want to go farm their chickens. Like they're legit brothers, and this is what they do.
Yeah, the Briscoes, Cody Rhodes, Marty Scurll, the Young Bucks, and Naito. WWE's got to just pluck them all. I'm like, dude, they should just have, the Ring of Honor Invasion, or just call them the Ring or something. I just kept thinking, man, these guys definitely deserve a call-up. These guys could do it all. Marty Scurll, he has it on a different level in that he can wrestle.
He's awesome, isn't he?
He's awesome in the way he interacts with the crowd in terms of stopping and starting.
Dude.
It was great to see a performer.
Awesome.
He's a performer, and then he stopped. He got engaged with the crowd. It was something to see. If you get a chance to see a Ring of Honor event, prices were pretty fair. I mean, $35 gets you pretty decent, and up close to the action. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man. It was awesome.
All right, so do you have a favorite wrestler now coming out of this event? Do you have a new one, or do you have one that has just kind of climbed up the list for you?
Yeah, I think that I'm definitely want to see how Adam Page continues his progression in the Bullet Club, and he had a match scheduled, but it didn't go down that way. It was kind of like a quick match, and then boom, he attacked the dude that he was fighting. But in terms of his presence, he's got a look in terms of the ponytail and just the physique, in that he kind of is along the lines of a guy that's probably elevating himself with what he can do and his persona.
Again, his growth has been exponential. Like he was a real quiet guy. He was just kind of the dude in the background. And Ring of Honor and New Japan has really thrust him into the spotlight, and he's doing a really good job with it. He's coming along very, very well.
But, just on the funny side, they got a cat named Cheeseburger. Yeah. And I'm like, how the hell is this little 90-pound dude wrestling? And he was all, like, bandaged up, I guess maybe from a previous night or something like that. But the dude Cheeseburger's entrance stole the show. Everybody was just like, oh, my God, there's a guy named Cheeseburger wrestling here. So it was just cool to see. Everyone there was cool. The one part that's still kind of, interesting that people talk about was Bully Ray showed up, and I guess he's kind of like a backstage producer, and he's got a presence, but he kind of basically is like the Triple H, where he just kind of shows up and has a presence, but he's also backstage doing some stuff. So he came in there and kind of imposed his will a little bit and caused some damage, but it's kind of fun to see that I was just kind of thinking to Kenny, I'm like, man, I don't understand why after he was involved with WWE as the Dudley Boys, just make him Bully Ray. You had a built-in heel, late 40s. You could have ran that out for a couple years as a heel guy, but they never took advantage of it. I was really surprised that Bully Ray wasn't involved in WWE more. Yeah. Bully Ray, not away from the Dudley Boys. I'm surprised because he's menacing. He's a big dude, and his moves have impact.
That's because WWE has to own everything.
Yeah.
And that was not their creation. So that's why they bought ECW. They bought ECW, so you can be
Dudley Boy. He's Dudley Boy.
Exactly.
And that was his role there. I'm surprised though. I think they missed out. That's a guy they could have took advantage of.
Let's transition over to Raw. Overall, what was your thought on Raw?
I felt like, dude, if you're going overseas and you want to put your best foot forward, I felt like it was a tag team night. I felt like, the good thing about having events overseas in London and things like that is there's an obvious time delay. So, okay, really the event was started at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So by 6, 7, we could have known what was going on. That's what I did. I went and I read it and I texted you and I said, oh God, cause you can miss this. This is garbage, because all I saw was this guy tagged with this guy. You featured throughout the night a theme of Roman Reigns beating up Jinder Mahal.
Yes.
Oh man, that's news. Jinder Mahal's not going to fight tonight. You have Kevin Owens fight a couple times. I just said, you know what? Raw already, from what I've read, garbage. They lost the week. There's nothing redeeming about what Raw did. I hated the entire thing, so I didn't watch it live on any level. I felt like it was terrible, a lot of tag team matches, and I'm like, why would you go down this road and on your way to pave, people's excitement for Money in the Bank? I just felt like Raw was an epic, colossal disappointment, and you had a crowd over there in London that wanted to get into a lot of things. But yet again, you got WWE ramming Roman Reigns down everybody's throat. And I guess the best part is knowing that, okay, Ronda Rousey's getting her push and she's going to challenge Nia Jax at Money in the Bank. And that was announced early in the show as part of a video package. But that was about it for me in terms of things that I liked. The rest of it, I'm like, okay, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens having a decent match. Bobby Roode qualifies. But in the end, when you ask yourself, does this make sense? Bobby Roode in a ladder match? It doesn't kind of translate. It doesn't make sense to me that Bobby Roode's going to bring any excitement because his style doesn't really kind of mesh with that kind of match. You go, okay, I guess the best part would be that, you're continuing the push for Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. But again, you got Braun Strowman super hot, white hot. Feature him. Why are you sticking him in all these tag matches? It's just...
because you don't have anything to do with him.
Exactly. And then the main event, again, Bobby Lashley and Elias. Come on now. Bobby Lashley, Elias, Kevin Owens in a match. It was good to see. I guess, you're furthering storylines, but I just thought that I could have took this entire card, redid it, and put together 3 better hours than what they did. I didn't like any of it, really.
See, I'm not as strong as you, okay? I felt like overall it was a decent show. I watched the whole thing. I thought it was a decent show. I felt like it had good moments. I felt like it had some confusing moments. So the Ronda Rousey challenging Nia Jax, like you said, that was a video package that was done in the beginning of the show. Then it was intertwined in the middle, and then it was shown again at the end. And I don't understand how Ronda Rousey gets to challenge Nia Jax right now. She's had a match since she's been here. So, I understand in real life what she means and what she brings. It's all about the bottom line. But she's not earned a title shot, so I don't understand why they're going to give her a title shot. And then do you have her lose to Nia Jax? You can't. She's brand new and she means dollars for you. So I don't understand this match. I don't understand why you're putting her in this spot. The whole Roman Reigns Jinder thing. That was basically our kickoff to the show. Roman Reigns comes out and he was booed so hard by everybody in the O2 arena. And he calls out Jinder. Angle answers and is like, look, you can't face Jinder tonight. Jinder's got a Money in the Bank opportunity later on, and I've got to do what's best for business, basically repeating what Stephanie McMahon had told him earlier. And then Roman basically stalks Jinder throughout the night and roughs him up. Look, the Seth Rollins match I thought was great. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is one of the best in the business right now, especially at being a heel. Kevin Owens was great in this match. Seth Rollins, of course, retains his belt. It was a classic. Bobby Roode, like you said, qualified for Money in the Bank. I didn't understand this match. It wasn't a very good match. It was Bobby Roode versus No Way Jose and Baron Corbin. No Way Jose gets pinned, and it's just, it was. You're right. That was a match. I think the coolest moment of the entire episode of Raw, you had the newly minted B team, which consisted of Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. All right, and they want a shot at Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, and Kurt Angle's like, you're not going to get those guys tonight. You don't deserve a shot against those guys. And he's like, I'll give you a match, and we'll talk about it after if you can get a win. Because you have to remember, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas have not won on Raw since they've been brought over to Raw. They've got a losing record. All right, but the B team is undefeated. B team has never lost. So they get into a match with Breeze Dango. They end up beating Breeze Dango, and then they call out Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt for the Raw tag belts. So we're going to see what's going to happen there next week. But the coolest moment of all was Curtis Axel starts chanting B team, and the whole arena erupts chanting B team. It was great. It was a really cool moment to see two guys who are normally job guys get a big win, and then the whole crowd, everybody gets behind them. And mind you, they're wearing white t-shirts with a B drawn on them in a black Sharpie. It was a cool moment.
What'd you make of the Bobby Lashley sister reference, which got chanted in the main event? I thought that was kind of funny,
dude,
but maybe inappropriate.
They have done such a bad job with Bobby Lashley. He should come in here and be a killer. And I'm so disinterested in his matches. And I really liked Bobby Lashley when he was in Impact. I thought he was an interesting guy. I watched all the time. When he comes on for WWE, I'm like, okay, how much longer till this is over? I keep looking at my watch to see what time it is so I can sit there and try to plan out how the rest of the show is going to go because I'm so disinterested.
Yeah.
You know, what I thought was really cool too was Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. They end up challenging Finn Balor and Braun Strowman. This was a really good match. And you don't realize how big Drew McIntyre really is until he is standing next to Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman towers over everybody. He does not tower over Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, they both stare eye to eye with each other. And Drew McIntyre is cut. He is cut. He is built. And this entire match, I think, was laid out really, really well because you kept the two superpowers away from each other the entire match. You know, Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman never really collided in the ring. On the outside of the ring, Braun Strowman came running around the corner and did his launching shoulder and bumped Drew. And Drew went flying into this massive trophy that Braun totes around, and the trophy broke. And in the end, Dolph Ziggler ends up pinning Finn Balor, but it was a really good match, and it was laid out really, really well. You know, it wasn't one of those things where you're going to get 5 stars for it, but what it did was it creates some interest. Look, you have nothing going on with Finn Balor right now. You've got nothing going on with Braun Strowman right now. Dolph Ziggler has nothing going on, and neither does Drew McIntyre. Let's throw these dudes in a tag team, and let's get something going. Now you've got something going. This match helped create some heat and help create a little bit of a storyline for you to build off of, and it'll probably wrap up at Money in the Bank. I think this is a good way to go. It's interesting because, like I said, you keep the two superpowers away from each other. You keep Drew and Braun away from each other, and you basically keep them chomping at the bit to get at each other. In the meantime, you've got Dolph and Finn kind of running, you know, ancillary stuff and are kind of the guys who are going to be taking most of the bumps here and doing most of the ring work. I think this works out perfectly. So overall, I thought it was an okay show. I don't think it was great by any means, and I think it had its hiccups and it's had its issues. But overall, I thought it was an okay show that was highlighted with a few moments here and there, and those moments really helped save it. Like I said, the BT moment was great. I thought the Dolph and Drew and Finn and Braun moment was really good, and after that, it was just kind of a raw show. It's what it was.
Exactly. And for a show that you would air overseas, I just felt like you could have gave them more. That's all. It just didn't meet up to expectations, right?
I totally get it.
But then you go to SmackDown and you go, okay, they delivered in those 2 hours, jam-packed. There was really only one segment that I felt like you could have did a lot better with, and that was every segment for me had its opportunities, had what it was supposed to do, and you had a purpose and things like that. The one segment that I would have maybe scratched out was you didn't need an entire TV segment to get over that Carmella's going to face Asuka. I felt like you could have did that in a backstage package. Yeah. You could have just wrapped that up in a button, boom. You could have had Carmella talk to an interviewer, and boom, Asuka shows up. You wrap it up in 5 minutes. You took a lot of TV time to kind of establish that feud. It was fine, but I just felt like this is television. Every minute is prime minute, and you could have added those extra 5 minutes to Nakamura, AJ Styles. In the end, whenever you can feature AJ Styles and Nakamura, they're having better matches, and at least this match had a conclusion. And so in some feuds, you go, okay, wrap it up and things like that. You want to see more AJ Styles, Nakamura, but you want to see a natural conclusion, hopefully with AJ Styles defeating Nakamura. It'll be fun to see what Nakamura picks, but I enjoyed the match. I was like, okay, it's good. You announced it early. I now know around 9:30, I'm going to peek in for sure to see Nakamura and AJ Styles. And it just seems like with each appearance of Nakamura as a heel, he's getting better. He's embracing the role. The way he enters the music was kind of perfect symmetry. In terms of his entrance with the music, it was awesome. I enjoyed it.
His backstage promo with Renee earlier in the night, I thought it was great too.
Amazing. I like the opportunity of opening a show with Daniel Bryan. I kind of would go, though, in terms of what I want to see. In terms of Daniel Bryan, I felt like with Big Cass, you had a story. You could have ended it quickly with him tapping out. You now have maybe Big Cass using that as fuel going forward with somebody else. But to keep this feud going, it's just, I'm not interested anymore because for me, you've kind of squashed Big Cass because he tapped out.
I'll give you a little bit.
I'm not interested anymore. I want bigger things for Daniel. He's a main eventer.
Right, you're right.
Big Cass, that's not right.
During news and notes, I'll give you a little bit of insight on what's going on with Big Cass and probably why you're seeing what you're seeing right now.
I'm not invested in that feud for Daniel Bryan. I feel like you had it, you had him squash it, you move on. You now can also kick off a heel run with Big Cass running roughshod throughout SmackDown, but just it doesn't seem like a good fit right now. But it was nice to see the aggressive Daniel Bryan. It was nice to see in the open. It was really cool to see the passionate crowd basically shut up Renee Young, and they just really screamed over her, and he just was excited. And then Big Cass comes out But it just kind of goes to show you that, you know what? Hey, if you got a big dude and you want to feature him, go ahead. But the one thing from the show that kind of struck with me was, man, you got the bar and you have an opportunity to utilize them and make them really a strong team. And right now, basically in the stock watch, they're kind of dipping a little bit because their victories have diminished. They're not winning as many matches on television. And I just felt like, you know what, from where the bar was, I feel like you got the premier tag team and to have them lose to the New Day. It's fine, but I'm a fan of the bar.
But coming out of that match, who do you think the New Day will select to compete in Money in the Bank? Because the rules were laid out that whoever wins, whichever team wins this match between the New Day and the bar, that team gets to select a member to compete in Money in the Bank. So who do you think is going to compete? I think Big E gets.
Big E's the big guy, right? Big E or Kofi.
Yeah, those are the two I was thinking.
But
as well.
If it's not Big E, I think Xavier Woods has been having some monster performances lately in singles competition, and he's starting to elevate his game a little bit match by match. So it'll be fun to see which member of their team gets to compete. But the best chance probably is Big E, most athletic, big guy.
That's what I think. What'd you think of Andrade Cien Almas?
I can't wait to see him against real talent. I mean, it's nice to see a squash match against maybe a local dude, but it was nice to see. I like his valet. I feel like his entrance he's got a presence.
He's a good character. Wife said, "Who's the whore?"
Yeah.
In a pretty decent match, Becky Lynch makes Mandy Rose submit while Sonya Deville was on the outside. This was a three-way match for Money in the Bank. So Becky Lynch is now entered into Money in the Bank. And then, of course, like you said, we had our conclusion with the main event. We actually got a finish between Nakamura and AJ Styles. Nakamura wins. He now gets to pick his stipulation for Money in the Bank. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. Overall, I think I know where you stand. SmackDown was the better show.
Yeah, by far. Nakamura, AJ Styles was on fire. They just have good chemistry and they're working their magic. It's great to see it on free TV. I wasn't disappointed significantly, and I do hope that though the Money in the Bank match in 4 weeks, they got some time to build it up, is the end.
Yeah.
And just have AJ Styles continue to win. But part of me is thinking it's probably time. If you are going to have a title change, you probably would be at Money in the Bank to surprise everybody. But I'm hoping not. But AJ Styles, he's just one of the baddest dudes on the planet. And it's great to see him. Anytime he walks into a ring, I want to see it.
Yeah, he's awesome. All right, so you want some news and notes?
Hit me with the news and notes. What's going on this week?
All right, so Charlotte Flair has accrued quite a few injuries over the past few weeks. Late last week, it was reported that she is working with a busted implant in one of her breasts. Now, this occurred before WrestleMania, so she's been working through it since then. It's going to require surgery to repair it, and she's planning on getting the surgery done after the European tour, which they're on right now. And then during a house show late last week, I believe it was on Thursday, she had her teeth busted out by a Carmilla Superkick. So she had to get her grill fixed. So she had to fly from where they were at over in Europe, come back to the States, and then fly back out to Europe. So she's been back and forth globetrotting with a ton of injuries.
A busted boobie can never be a good thing when you're a pro wrestler, right?
No, never. Well, hopefully she gets them fixed because you've seen the pictures. The one is really off, and the other one...
They need to be augmented.
They need to be adjusted. How about that? So Big Cass, again, we're talking about Big Cass earlier. He has some sizable heat on himself after the little person segment 2 weeks ago. So they had the midget Daniel Bryant come out, and Big Cass had some stuff that he wanted to do. And the story goes he wanted to get a little extra work in after he gave the boot to the face to the midget Daniel Bryant. The booker said no, so Cass went straight to Vince and said, "Vince, let's do this." Vince said no. So what did he do? He went out and he did it anyway. So if you go back and you watch the video, after he gives the boot to the midget, he then proceeds to pummel him on the ground. And Vince didn't want any of that. That was all Big Cass taking liberties and doing extras, and it's got him in a little bit of hot water. That's probably why he was held off of SmackDown last week. That was also probably the reason why he tapped out so quickly at Backlash, and why he tapped out so quickly and was made to look like a fool this week on SmackDown. So expect to see Cass kind of getting his nose rubbed in it right now. Rumor is we might be getting a Roman Reigns heel turn coming up. Again, Vince is trying to find a way to get Roman over. This is something that fans have been clamoring for forever now. It sounds like Vince is giving it a lot of thought and that we might actually get the Roman Reigns heel turn. Daniel Bryan, he has yet to re-sign or restructure his WWE contract, which will expire on September 1st, which is the date of ROH's All In event. Now, speculation is that Daniel Bryan will be attending that and will be showing up for that. So if he lets his contract lapse, he can go the day of and compete in that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Is that good for him to do that? You think that's something? That's not a move. I think.
Well, here's the thing.
That's not good for business for him in terms of his relationship with the boss.
Well,
because if I'm the boss, I'm Vince, and I'm like, whoa, you're the head of our company. You can't basically show up as a one-off, get paid, and then show up back on Monday Night Raw the next week because you're significantly injecting life and buzz into our competition. I would, if I was Vince, I would maybe consider that a bridge burner. I would cut him out and say, you know what? If that's the path you would take, you're basically, not to disrespect Daniel, but in the end, it's a business. And these guys are making money, taking it away from the WWE. And so if you're Daniel Bryan, I think you got to think with your head on straight and go, if I burn the bridge with the biggest boss in the game, look, now, if you have the blessing of the boss and you're like, look, Vince, I'm going to sign. I have a letter of intent. I just want a weekend reprieve, 2 days, non-contracted work. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to honor my roots, say thank you for the people that helped me, help them out. And Vince is like, go ahead, buddy. You can do it. As long as you say, I'm going to get
how everybody has a Vince McMahon voice.
Yeah, you got it, buddy. Go ahead, do it. But you better sign that 5-year deal when you come back on Monday. So as long as you got the blessing of the boss. But from my perspective, if he does that, I'd be pissed if I was Vince.
Well,
I'd be pissed.
If you remember, before he was ever cleared to come back and wrestle, he was talking about how he wanted to do some things in CMLL, which is in Mexico. He wanted to do some things in ROH. He wanted to do some things in New Japan. He wanted to work with a lot of different talent. So if his contract lapses, maybe he goes and works with different talent, and then maybe he comes back in a year. And I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
That's not going to happen.
But
I think that's speculation. I think the marks are just going to be thrilled if CM Punk shows up. CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, if you could have maneuvered that and you have a in line with Daniel, you could have sold a 20,000 seater. Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, you probably underdid it if you have an in line, but I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, well, speaking of CM Punk, he will be attending the ROH All-In event, kinda. He's going to be part of the weekend's event, signing autographs at one of the booths that'll be set up. But don't be surprised if he shows up and he cuts a promo. I'm not expecting him to get involved in any action because he does have a UFC fight upcoming. But don't be surprised if he does do a run-in or comes in and cuts a promo. And maybe he does cut that promo to challenge Daniel Bryan. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. You got to wait. September 1st. You got to wait. Speaking of September 1st, the Bullet Club's ROH All-In event. That did sell out in under 30 minutes this past Sunday afternoon. Now, this is a big deal because no company, no wrestling organization stateside has ever sold out a event greater than 10,000 seats besides WWE. So this is a big deal for an indie promotion or a promotion that's looked at like an indie promotion to go and be able to sell something out in under 30 minutes, a 10,000 seat arena. That's a big deal. And more big deals coming for the All-In event. Rey Mysterio will be wrestling at it as well. So a lot going on. ROH is making a lot of waves. Bullet Club's making a lot of waves. WWE's still the king, but as you can see, ROH is really, really building, and this was a wrestling podcast where we really got to talk heavy about things going on with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it's nice to peek into something different than WWE because there is a solid indie scene. There are a lot of wrestlers that want to move up and things like that, and sometimes you need to kind of cut your teeth a little bit and market yourself and kind of win over the crowd, win over attention. And if you're given an opportunity in Ring of Honor, they have a storied history. And if they're building up to maybe be bought one day by WWE, then you have an opportunity. And one thing I wanted to run by you because I ran it by Kenny. Do you think Vince McMahon, Triple H would be wise to maybe do what they did in terms of a War of the Worlds type thing where WrestleMania weekend, you have NXT versus Ring of Honor? Imagine you have WWE, maybe an event.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, you have Ring of Honor and you have the NXT cats or WWE cats. Then you could have like Omega. You could have Omega versus Daniel Bryan.
Let me
have a little bit of a convention and say, look, it's all a business. I know I'm number one. Vince ain't going anywhere. It's a $1 billion business. Invite Ring of Honor for that weekend and have a mixed card. NXT event.
You have so many storylines that you can go off of.
Yes,
because you have to realize who's in NXT and where they came from. If you look at Adam Cole, you look at Bobby Fish, you look at Kyle O'Reilly. All those guys were Ring of Honor champions at one time.
Just have an event.
Adam Cole specifically was in Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Up until he left Ring of Honor, and then he got super kicked out of Bullet Club. There are so many crossover storylines that you could do.
Invite him to the party. I don't see any Ring of Honor feud with WWE. Invite him to the party. They've earned it. They have a name. They have a
But
service.
you know how WWE is.
I get
It's
it.
WWE's world and nobody else. They're not willing to share the spotlight with anybody. It's really weird and it's groundbreaking that they're doing things with Impact right now.
Yeah.
They're paying
Yeah.
Impact for
Yeah.
footage
Yeah.
from Matt Hardy's
Stuff.
Yeah, from his broken gimmick.
Yeah.
So it's really, really weird. I mean, they even did it, and the fact that they even mentioned TNA on television,
Yeah.
it's mind blowing because that's not what WWE does. That's not how they operate.
But it could also be ultimate respect to Ring of Honor in that they view them as true competition. Whereas I don't think WWE views Impact. I think that Vince is doing one for the business and like, look, these guys are struggling. We always hear that guys are not getting paid. The boys, da-da-da. It's been on television. Let me just kind of infuse a little. Because he's done it before with ECW. He's infused dollars to those that he doesn't view as a threat. Ring of Honor.
It's true.
You know, they are
But he also
bringing
was
cats.
taking cats from ECW
Yeah.
and bringing them up to his roster.
So
ECW was always kind of looked at as his feeder system.
You got it.
But, I mean, that's essentially what ROH is, right? But why do you have NXT?
Yeah. It would be great.
Talk for a different day.
Is that all for news and notes?
That's all I got for news and notes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, you know what? I'm sorry. I would be remiss if I did not bring up John Cena on the Today Show,
God,
where
man,
I really wanted to pull some audio, but it was 5 minutes
No.
of just blubbering.
I love you, Nikki!
And just sounding like a total buffoon, and I couldn't stand
No.
hearing it again.
That was terrible.
Do you think it's a work?
It's starting to look like it.
Yes.
But it's just embarrassing that you really go out there and you say, you know, I was just having conversations with her, and you know how guys are. We just say things. Well, dude, she cut you off. So go out there and handle your business.
See, I thought that he was the one who broke it off with her.
No, she
but
did.
She broke it off with him.
No, because he was kind of like, you know how
Holy
guys
cow.
are. She's like, so do you really want to have kids with me? And she probably looked at him. He was kind of like, well, you know, I'm going to be busy for the next couple of years. I'm making a ton of movies. I'm not going to really be around. Do I really want to have kids?
You know,
she wants him to want to have kids.
Yeah.
And he's probably like, dude, I'll have it with you. No problem. But you know how guys are. We're
I'll
like,
dump a
sure.
load in you.
Yeah, whatever,
It's cool.
dude. Whatever. Yeah, it's a problem. But I'm kind of, you know, if you take care of it and while I'm working, no problems. But, you know, and she cut it off, was like, forget this. But it could be a work because, you know, 5 minutes. Ugh, it was corny. I just thought it was corny.
It was very corny. And here's the thing. So last week, rumors were that him and Carmilla were hanging out together. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Nikki Bella, and yeah, she's kind of hot. But then I'm looking at Carmilla on Tuesday night on SmackDown, and she got those big, like, here's the thing. I love big hoop earrings, and I love hair up in a ponytail. So the bigger the hoop, the bigger the hoe. And I'm just like looking at Carmilla, and I'm like, yeah, I would take you all day and twice on Sundays. Oh, man, I'd take you over Nikki Bella every day of the week.
Make sure you like and subscribe to the network. Go visit DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Subscribe on iTunes. Each and every day, great new content from Detroit Sports Podcast. Visit the website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Check out the next edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast next Friday. See everybody next time.